Hi, this is Guy from Project Portfolio Office, and this is the next video in our capability series, and this relates to cost management. So in PPO, you have a cost entity, which is the place where you're able to manage your project budgets, forecasts, expenditure, variances, cash flow, and various other financial management type functions. So if I take an existing project as an example, what PPO supports is the ability for you to take the project budget, break it up into categories, in this case OPEX and maybe CAPEX, subcategories or general ledger line items. You can break up your costs per year and month. That's useful if you're doing cash flow planning or forecasting or those type of things. The budget of those line items, the spent, what's actually physically left the bank account, the commitments, if you want to do that once purchase orders have been raised, the estimate to complete, or what some organizations will call forecast, and then total at completion and variances are calculated, and I'll show you how that works. But if we take the Northern Frontier Marketing Project, it has a budget of $1.6 million. It's already spent $389,000. Its forecast or estimate to complete is $679,000. And the variance, an underspend in this case, is 608, because the total at completion will be what is spent plus what has been forecast, but I'll explain that later. So how it works in PPO, if you're going to be using PPO and you haven't done a lot of work on the cost section yet, I'm going to use the multiple edit in PPO. That functionality is useful for something like this. And I'm going to do it for the setup of PPO project. So once again, category, in this case, I've got some CAPEX I'm going to be buying. I'm going to be doing hardware. Subcategory is a non-required field, but can be made required if necessary. I'm going to be spending that CAPEX during this month. And my CAPEX is $1,000 for hardware. And on day zero, my budget and my estimate to complete will be the same. Using the copy functionality in PPO, I'm able to mirror that, move this to OPEX, and in this case, I've got some consulting fees. That's going to be 400 Rand in September. And once again, day zero, the budget and the estimate to complete should be the same. Copy that over for October. By then, our project is ramping up a bit, so that'll be 500. November, we'll mirror that as well. And then in November, I've also got some miscellaneous items. Well, let's put that drop back, that drop to October, but that'll only be 100. So very quickly, I was able to take my project budget, break it up into the category, the CAPEX and OPEX, link in the subcategory or general ledger items, as well as do my year and month. And by doing that on this specific project, on day zero of my project, if I just choose my specific project, you can see I've got a total project budget of $2,500. Spent so far is zero. Estimate to complete or forecast $2,500, and my variance is zero. So let's run through how this actually works then when the project starts. So the first month comes, and at the end of the month or during the month, I update my cost records. And this hardware that we bought actually only cost me 900. There was no commitment, no PO raised for that. It went straight into spent. And the estimate to complete is zero. So what I'm telling the system and telling the users of the reports is I don't plan to spend any more money. So there is a $100 saving on that one. And for the consulting fees, we did spend the full 400. And once again, my estimate to complete will be marked as zero. What PPO does from a calculation point of view for those other fields is it takes the spent plus the commitment plus the estimate to complete and says that's the total at completion. So the 900 plus 0 gives you a 900 total at completion. And then the budget of 1,000 less than 900 is your variance. So in this case, I'm showing a $100 saving, and in this case, a zero. And you can see my variance for the entire project so far sits at 100. If you were then to roll into the next month, and we'll do some of the commitments, how that works is, let's say, for example, we raised a purchase order for the miscellaneous stuff. So I'll put the commitments as 100. The estimate to forecast is 0. And in this case, we did spend 300 of the money, and we still plan to spend 200. So I can do updates provisionally during the month. So here you'll see once again, the total at completion for the miscellaneous is 100. So it's the 0 plus 100 plus 0. Because my total at completion is the same as my budget, my variance on that line item is 0, and the same for the other one. End of the month comes and I update those, edit it. The commitment of 100 was now actually spent. Clear the commitment, and I spent the full 500 and clear the estimate to complete. So on a monthly basis, the project managers will be updating their costs, and that will be then maintaining the information. By doing this, you're able to produce a large set of reporting relating to costs. So if I go into the dashboard section quickly in PPO, one of the nice dashboards is the cost dashboard. I'm able to filter that for specific projects. I'm just going to run this dashboard as is. And what this dashboard is going to give me is a full analysis of all my cost information. So in my portfolio, I've currently spent 23% of my budget, which is $5.7 million. My total completion is 5 million, which means I'll have a variance and underspend on my portfolio of 700,000. I've got 9 projects in my portfolio and I've spent 1.3. This graph on the side, because I've run it by category, shows me the split between CapEx and OpEx. Budget, total completion and variance. So there's actually going to be a slight overspend on CapEx and then a big underspend on OpEx. And if I drill into these on the dashboard, it will take me down one level lower into the actual line items. Spend per project. So our biggest project is the Northern Frontier Marketing, 30% or 29.7% of our total budget. Budget by portfolio, I'm spending most of my money in the Grow and Transform, and then a little bit in the Run the Business and some in regulatory. And then a summary of the cost information for the projects. And if I drill down into, say, that Northern Frontier Marketing project over here, it takes me down to PPO's project status dashboard. For those of you that are long-serving clients, some clients call it the project manager's dashboard. And here you can see the total cost. There's a 600,000 saving on this specific project. We can see that on the cost variance. And if I scroll down to the cost section on this dashboard, it then will roll it up in category, in this case only OpEx, the 1.6 million budget. We spent 389, estimate to still spend or estimate to complete 679. The 389 plus the 679 will give you 1068, and there's our big variance and our saving on that. Because I've captured my costs on a year and month basis, which some organizations do, but it's not required, I'm then able to do some nice cash flow forecasting and a cost curve where PPO will show my total project budget over time. That's the blue line. My total at completion, and that gap over there is that 700,000 that you've been seeing throughout the rest of this video. And then my spend at the bottom. So while there is a good saving that will come out of this portfolio, my current spending rate is much lower than planned, which tells me we're probably falling fairly far behind on the portfolio of projects. There are a bunch of reports also relating to costs, which you can find under the reporting section under costs, a detailed report for those that need it if you've got access to it, and then a simple one-pager finance data report, which can be run like this, giving you the total budgets. And if you wanted a level lower on that, by showing the details, PPO will just go one level lower and take that information and drop it down for you, where it will show the project and then the category and then the specific year. So this is a high-level overview of the cost functionality in PPO. We hope this video was valuable to you and explains the functionality and the features and the capabilities that PPO supports when it comes to cost management.